I was so happy to take a 3-day weekend and just kind of let the brain rest a little bit. So today we're actually going to go over the last part of the transformation formula, which is information. But before we get to that, man, I was up all night. It is just crazy. Your boy James is in Hawaii. So I think he forgets what time it is there, and I'm up, and I'm like, man, before I knew it, it was like 2:30, 3 in the morning, and, you know, and I'm texting back and forth with that guy, and it just kind of goes to show you, like, when you're excited about something, man, it's hard for you to sleep, and then you kind of get up in the morning. So, transformation formula, before we get to the information, it kind of came into my heart that I just wanted to make sure that we go over, because repetition is the mother of all learning. So, what's the starting point of the transformation formula? Mindset is of the formula, but what actually gets the whole thing going?
The goal.
Right, the dream, right? The dream is what's going to make everything go. Pat, talk to me. How do we come up with this dream? What is the dream about?
So we see it. You see it down the line. You know, if it don't scare you, it's not the right dream. You know, you write that thing in your pocket. You look at it, and you just instill it into your subconscious.
Exactly. How has it been coming with you guys? Have you guys all at this point come up with a dream, whether it be personal, business, spiritual? Do you have that big dream right now? Okay. All right, because once we get through the information, then the fun part's going to start, where we're actually going to be putting stuff pad to pen. So if you don't have that dream, and when I say that dream, I mean it's really got to like move you. Just to remind you, most people in this world, if you ask them what their dream is, they're not going to have one, right? You might say, what's your goal? They might tell you a little goal, but it's going to be little. And it'll be temporary. And probably, I would say 95% of the people aren't going to have it written down. So if you have it written down, you're like way above it. So the question becomes, the dreams, remember, it's our fuel, and it's very important, and this is where it all starts, because if the dream is not big enough, I'm telling you right now, if the dream is not big enough, you're not going to follow through with it. We're not. That's just how we are built. So the question is, are we going to be cars, or are we going to be rocket ships? At the end of the day, cars, and that's what I have been for a long time in my life. I was a car, right? Low grade fuel. I would fill up my gas tank. I would drive around, load to the ground. But then usually what happens, right? You start here, you fill up your gas tank, you drive around for a week or two, and then what happens? The gas tank, it goes empty. Now you're running on E. Many people in this world, that's how they're living life, right? They're living life on E, or they might fill their tank up to a quarter of a tank. Even if they get it full, what happens, and this is what happens with a lot of our dreams, we ride around and we have these big goals. That's why, January 1st, New Year's resolutions, right? Everybody gasses the tank up. But we're all cars, right? We gas them up. Statistics show that by the 3rd or 4th week of the year, guess what? People have already stopped their New Year's resolutions. That's because this is the 95%. We're no longer in that 95%. And the reason is that we're on this side. We have big goals, big dreams, because when they're super big, you're like a rocket ship, okay? You're going to take off. And by the goal being so big, what happens is you don't see a lot of the little obstacles. And it gets you out of bed in the morning, and it keeps you up late at night. I'll give you two examples, okay? What's the kid from the Redskins that got drafted? What was
Chase Young?
no
Dwayne Haskins.
Dwayne Haskins. This right down your alley, bro. So you jump on in, okay? Here we go. So we got Haskins on one side, okay? Tom Brady on this side, okay? Dwayne Haskins, he's a car, okay? This is what Dwayne Haskins did. In his mind, and you could go back and listen to some of his interviews, in his mind, his dream was what?
To be a first round pick.
To be a first round pick, right? He wanted to be a first round pick. His dream was just to get to the NFL. He kept saying, it's a dream come true. I can't believe I'm here in the NFL, right? So he's a car. And you see, this is what happens with cars, right? They got low grade dreams, and the dreams fuel you. So my man, I love him to death. He's young, and he still has a chance to become a rocket ship. But that's only if his dream changes, right? Because what happens, he got into the NFL, he got a little money, he settled. His dream, he had already achieved his dream, right? So at that point, he doesn't really have anything to shoot for. So now, after a game on Sunday, where is he, right? Strip club. He's out hanging out, right? Even if they lost, he's out hanging out. Now you go to this side, Tom Brady, okay? People love him, hate him, whatever. But whatever you say, he's a rocket ship, okay? The success formula goes like this. Dream, mindset, information, habits. Question becomes, Tom Brady, in his 40s, Bo will tell you this, quarterbacks, toughest position probably ever to play. What are your thoughts being a quarterback, Bo, and you look at Tom Brady? Give us from an analogy or whatever. What do you see when you see that guy?
I mean, he's just the best. Like I said, you see a certain, everything he's saying, it kind of just it goes to it. His mindset is really different. Like, you see, he's not even celebrating when he wins the NFC Championship. He's not even, his teammates like, why are y'all crying for? We got one more game to play. We got a Super Bowl to win. Like, he don't care about that. So his goal is so much bigger than winning even 1, 2, 3 rings, and it shows that. His leadership, the whole 9 yards, it all just transpires from that mindset and that big dream he has to be the best of all time. So
exactly. That's perfect. Perfect. So here's, and then we'll wrap it up with this. And this is why I say dreams, you gotta have the dreams, because the formula will work without the dream, okay? Mindset plus information plus habit, the formula will work. And it worked for Tom Brady, and guess what? He won a lot of Super Bowls with New England Patriots. But remember what I said, these lines right here, anybody remember what these lines are? Remember what I called them?
No.
These are called happiness lines, okay? So you can be successful, okay? Check this out. You can be successful by doing the formula. But if it's not your dream and your desire, and you don't have these happiness lines, you're gonna have a lot of success, but you're not gonna be happy. So then the question becomes, Tom Brady, why did he leave the New England Patriots, right? He could have literally, think about this, he could have literally stayed with Bill Belichick, and they probably could have won, recruited or whatever, and did 2, 3 more Super Bowls. He had the best system, right? Best coach, best quarterback. He was winning Super Bowls. He decided to leave because he wasn't happy. And the reason why he wasn't happy, it was no longer his dream and desire to play for the New England Patriots. So what does he do? He goes to Tampa Bay, right? Mindset, information, habits. If his dream was not big enough, what happened in the beginning of the season? Did he get off to a quick start? Slow start, right? Media's all on him. Oh, Tom Brady, you're washed up. He can't throw the ball, arm not strong. Tom Brady, his mindset he could care less about what the media was saying, right? His mindset, he had already told himself in his mind he was going to be the oldest quarterback to win the Super Bowl. He dreamed big, and that's what we need to do, right? We need to be the Tom Brady's of the world. So before we move on, I just want to, if I want you to please review your goal and your dream. Is it big enough? Is it going to keep me like up here? Or am I going to be a car? And only you know what this could be. Here's another scenario. Bo, have you ever had a great game? Anybody that plays sports in here, have you ever had a great game and people come up to you and they're like, yo, dog, you killed it. You threw 5 touchdowns that game. That was a great game. And in your heart, you were like, man, I should have had 7. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what's a champion, right? Yeah. Is that because only you know what your potential is, right? So people can look at you and you can be successful, but at the end of the day, only you know what's in your heart. And God has given us more talent and ability that we'll ever use in this lifetime. Our gift to God is to use as much of this talent and ability in this lifetime. Okay? So that's dreams. Now we're going to go and just review quickly some of the rules of the mind. And I didn't put them down here because I wanted to make sure that you guys, like, this is like getting into your subconscious. So, what's some of the rules of the mind? And you know, we just throw them out there. Like, what are some of the concepts? Anybody? Johnny?
Rules of the mind?
Yeah,
control,
just what are some of the things we talked about, like
words and pictures?
Words and pictures, very good. That's huge, right?
Yeah.
Words and pictures. You said that?
Yeah.
Very good. Talk to me a little bit about that. What is that? Words and pictures. How does that work with your subconscious?
I mean, it controls and kind of sets the framework for how we perceive information and how we process it.
Exactly. So when we're talking about the mind, remember, we have, what part is the top part? The conscious, right? Subconscious. Our 5 senses bring stuff into our conscious. We choose what information we want to bring into our mind. And now that you're thinking at a higher level, you're choosing the positive information that comes in. So you're choosing the positive words, right? We're choosing the positive pictures, because what happens is these words and pictures, they get stored right here in the subconscious. And the more we repeat certain words and pictures, the more our subconscious comes and they go back and do that. All right, so that's great. How do we get what we want out of our mind?
Train subconscious, because it makes up 80% of what we do a day.
There you go. Subconscious, right? This makes up, many people say 95% of what we do. So we need to train that. So how do we get what we want out of our mind? What do we need to do? We need to...
Think in the present tense. So.
Perfect. Yeah, think in the present tense. We need to tell our mind what we want it to think. Very good. So that's the other rule. Tell your mind what you want it to do. if we got nothing else out of this except for the dreams, words and pictures, and tell your mind what you wanted to do, I mean, that right there is like it. That is pretty much the secret sauce for mindset. So, words and pictures, tell your mind what you want it to do. Then there's certain ways that the mind works, right? We seek what?
Pleasure.
Pleasure. So you know that's a rule. Seek pleasure and avoid pain. There we go. So we seek pleasure, avoid pain. Perfect. And this is important. Another rule of the mind, very important, because as we talked about, when we go to do our habits, right, this is really going to come into play. Our bad habits, right, we need to try to avoid pain. And our good habits, we want to seek pleasure. So it's all about, tricking the mind. Another concept that we talk about is being comfortable, being what?
Uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable, exactly, right? Taking the familiar and making it unfamiliar for bad habits, and for good habits, taking the unfamiliar and making it familiar. So I'm not going to write it down for the sake of time, but familiar, unfamiliar, unfamiliar. So those are like the basis, the four bases of the mind. So as we start going through our plans, and we come across like limiting beliefs or different things like that, all we have to do is go back to our core fundamentals, right? We just go back to words and pictures. I need to change the channel, remote, right? Who has the remote? I don't like what I'm watching on TV. I change the channel, right? If I'm sad, I change the channel. I turn to something happy. Tell your mind what to do. That goes with the dreams. And we all talked about it. Everybody has their goal cards. Like Johnny said, everything is in the present tense. The mind, right? The mind doesn't understand past, doesn't understand future. We speak in present tense to the mind, and we make it, very colorful and emotional, right? We try to attach a sense of emotion, okay? Anybody else want to add anything? I mean, at this point, you guys probably have your own little tricks. Anything in terms of like things that you've learned or you thought of with rules of the mind? Okay. Belief. So now we have the dreams and we have the mind, and we'll leave it at this. We always talk about repetition, right? And we always say you have to believe in yourself. How do you believe in yourself?
Take away your limiting.
Take away, very good. Take away the limiting beliefs, definitely. And how do we get rid of those limiting beliefs?
By only putting positive stuff in our mind.
Exactly, right? We go right here. These are how we get rid of our limiting beliefs. As well, the goal card. The goal card represents what we call auto-suggestion, right? It's self-fulfilling prophecy. So the goal card, in actuality, you have your dreams, and then the goal card, what that does is, that is what gives you faith and belief. Because if you tell your mind something over and over and over again, your mind, what? Begins to believe it. Okay? So that's the other big thing, auto-suggestion. Okay? So that's why it's important. We have our dreams, we know our rules for the mind, and now we have auto-suggestion where we just continually tell it, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to weigh I weigh 195 pounds. I'm a millionaire real estate investor. Whatever it is, that's what we're doing, okay? So we're gonna move to the last part of the formula, and I gave you a little handout right here. It's information. Anybody remember when we talked about the formula, mindset, information, and habits? Where does information play in this?
After your mindset.
Okay,
So this is
least important, right? The information is probably the least important part of the formula because think about it. It's like it's counterintuitive to what we learned in school, right? And this is why it's none of our faults. And this is why a lot of us end up in the 95 percentile because we all have great intentions, right? We all like to think that we have a positive attitude. And see, that's the difference. Now we understand that there's a big difference between mindset and your mind. Mindset is like your attitude, but your mind is your subconscious. You see the big difference? So most people, even though they're on this side, they could have very positive attitudes, right? I want to win. I want to lose weight. I'm positive. But they just don't understand the actual principles of changing your subconscious. So information is probably the least important, and it's not our fault. When we went to school, just to kind of give you an idea, this is what happens. We go to school, many of us start at kindergarten, and we go all the way up to, like, say, 12th grade. Some of us go to college, some of us go to master's degrees. What school teaches us to do is accumulate a lot of what we call general knowledge. Math, social studies, whatever, science. Think about how much information you accumulated in the first years of your life that we never did anything with. I'm homeschooling my son right now. He's in eighth grade. We're going over 8th grade algebra. This is where, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but this is where you kind of have to keep things in perspective with school. 8th grade algebra, I'm looking at, I have no clue. I got an A in 8th grade algebra. Well, actually, I didn't get an A. Remember, Tony was pretty good. I actually got a C, but we'll leave that for another topic. But anyway, I was pretty decent in algebra. The bottom line was I couldn't really remember anything. And that's what we do in school. We get a lot of general knowledge, we study it for a short period of time, and then we move on to another topic. It's so counterintuitive to what we do in business. Because in business, we do the exact opposite, right? We get a little bit of information, right? Johnny, little bit of information. I learned how to cut hair. I don't need a lot, right? I learned how to cut hair. I take that little bit of information and now I turn it into a business. Think about that. You just study one little thing and turn it into a business. The challenge is like in real estate, many of us in our subconsciouses, we are doing what we were taught in school. So, and this is why I said the dream, you have to have that dream because it keeps you centered and focused. So whatever your dream is, I'm going to be the number one wholesaler, I'm going to be the number one flipper. It keeps you focused because in real estate, guess what? It's just like school. It's like so many things out there in real estate. I could be a developer, I could be a flipper, I could be a wholesaler, I could be a buy and hold. And what ends up happening is we try to learn like all of these different things. It's kind of like being, the jack of all trades, master of none. And the individuals that are like super, super, super successful in the real estate game hone in on their dream, and we find that specific information, and then we just hammer it over and over and over again. Okay? We're not trying to read 1,000 books one time. We're trying to read one book 1,000 times, right? And that's the whole secret sauce that we want with information, okay? So the question becomes, where do we figure out? So once we have our dream established, how do we go about and where do we find the information? Anybody want to share what their dream is, and then we'll kind of rock with it. Anybody? It's Monday morning for me. It's Tuesday for y'all. All right, let's do it like this. You want to jump in?
Yeah, I mean, my dream is to build a real estate business that generates $2 million a year revenue.
There you go. And do you have a specific type of marketing channel or anything that you're trying to achieve it with?
The biggest channel I've been using so far is commercial with multifamilies and shovel-ready developments.
Okay, and how are you getting it? What marketing channel are you trying to use? Telemarketing, postcards, working the phones?
Yes, my most successful so far has been working the phones, cold calling, and my network. I have quite a few people in my network who are already in some dimension doing it, so just kind of connecting the pieces.
Okay, all right. So this is how it works. So let's say cold calling is going to be, the weapon of choice per se for marketing. How do you know what you're doing is like the best and most efficient way to do cold calling? How do you even figure out like what we're doing? Who can you talk to? Like, where do you search out the information? Like, when you're trying to figure out, I'm setting up my cold calling, where are you getting that information in terms of how many hours a day, who you're calling, things of that nature?
I guess you might look at your results to see is what I'm doing working.
Okay.
Am I generating results from my own?
So, I guess where I'm getting at is there are people that are called subject matter experts. Okay, everybody, what's a subject matter expert?
Someone who knows that specific subject and they've mastered it.
They've mastered it, right? So that's where we're getting our information from, okay? We're not creating like our own plans or information. What we're doing is we're going to subject matter experts who have done cold calling and telemarketing, and success leaves clues, right? And so we're following them. So once again, it all goes back to general information versus specific information. During the day, like in your free time, if that is your mode of operation, like, we need to be following the best of the best. So who's the best cold caller in terms of in the industry? Like, who do we follow? Is anybody following anybody? Or are we just kind of doing it on our own?
Tom Ferry.
Who?
Tom Ferry. I think this is Tom Ferry.
Okay.
Real estate coach or something.
You said what?
I think it was Tom Ferry. He's like a real estate coach.
Okay, real estate coach.
He's like a real estate call.
Okay. There's and I'm not really into cold calling, but like if you go on YouTube, there's I think a guy, and I think his group is called TPP. Has anybody heard of that? So you have gurus like that you can Google on YouTube that it shows you how to cold call. What I'm trying to get you guys to understand is that in order to be the best, like you have to hang around the best, right? And you have to model after the best. So the question becomes, and these are going to be things that we talk about in our formulas, is right now you're going to have your dream and you're going to have your success. where you are currently, okay? So let's say right now I'm at $100,000 per year, and cold calling is my mode of operation. My mindset is already attached to making $100,000 a year cold calling. So my habits are reflecting my subconscious. Are you following me? My habits are reflecting my subconscious. So in order to elevate and say now we're making 100, but our goal is $1 million a year, right? We need to follow and understand what is the difference in habits of somebody that's making $100,000 a year versus somebody that's making $1 million a year. And it might be that the habits are the exact same, but it just might be you have to do it at a larger scale, right? And that's one thing about success that we all know, that in order to like achieve maximum potential, you can't do it by yourself. So we're gonna have to come up with various strategies where we incorporate. So I think we talked about this before, just to kind of give you an idea. If the average deal that you're making is 20 or 30 grand, it's just a simple math equation. Like 25 deals and you're making 25 grand, that's gonna make you $1 million. So the equation becomes, how do I get to $1 million? I need 25 deals. Once you start going through the formula, you just plug in all of your numbers. So you plug in right here, success is $1 million. You know how long it takes you to get one deal. If it takes you 2 months to get one deal, that's gonna make you 25 grand, right? If you keep doing what you're doing, you're gonna end up close to that 100 grand per year. So either A, you have to change the habit, or B, you're gonna have to like improve the habit that we're already going on. And that's where the information part comes. We don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? This is where we get to modeling. So my suggestion and my challenge to you guys is, this is where you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And you really have to ask yourself like these type of questions. Because if you don't, you're just gonna end up, you're gonna have like a positive mindset, which is a positive attitude, but you're gonna end up plus or minus 10% of where you were last year. You see, that's how we change habits. So you really have to ask yourself, A, is what I'm doing gonna get me to where I wanna be? We already know where our dream is. And if your dream is like big enough, your mind is gonna start thinking of creative ways to get you there. And that's the whole thing. The dream has to be super big. If the dream is like low grade, that's fine, but you're just gonna get the same results that we get year after year. So that's number one. Number two, I challenge you. In order to, there's an old saying, if you wanna soar with eagles, you can't hang with turkeys. Meaning that we have to, if we want to make $1 million doing cold calling, we have to start hanging with other people that are doing $1 million cold calling. And this is where the uncomfortable part comes in, right? You need to build your dream team. We need to go out, get out of our comfort zones, because right now we're all like let's just say, and I'm not saying this office, but I'm just saying in general, we're all right around the same level. All of us make about the same amount of money, right?
Bullshit.
Oh, well, I'm just saying, typically, if you look at how much you make, you can take the average of the 5 people that you're spending the most time with per week, and you're typically going to be making about the average of what those 5 people are making. So if you're making 100,000 and you're spending the majority of your time with other people that are making 100,000, typically on average you're going to make around 100,000 plus or minus. So what I'm just trying to get you to do is that you've already established this big dream in your heart, right? So now this is where it all comes down to subconscious and the mindset, because now it gets a little uncomfortable, right? So now it's like, well, I'm making 100,000, but I want to make 1 million. I need to start hanging with some millionaires. But now I'm a little scared, because now I'm getting like a little, what can I offer them? Like now the limiting beliefs start coming in. It's kind of like the whole thing with Dwayne Haskins, right? He's like, hey, I made it to the NFL, but now I'm with the big boys, right? So it's like, what do? Do I hang with all the people that I went to high school with that told me how great I was? Or do I change it and now, like, instead of calling the people I went to high school and they're like, man, forget the Redskins, man, they don't know what they had. You the man. Yeah, I'm the man. Or does Dwayne Haskins go and call Brett Favre? Or does he go and call a Peyton Manning? And does he get out of his comfort zone and say, man, you know what? I'm not as good as I thought. Like, I'm trying to be great. I want to be great. Brett Favre, can you help me? Tell me what it takes for me to be great. All of these people would probably love to help a young quarterback. But like, and that's where the dream comes in. Because when you're hungry, and I keep going to Bo because we've been talking about quarterbacks. But you remember when you were growing up and you were playing quarterback, you probably thought about throwing touchdowns all day long, every day, and there was nothing that was going to stop you. Like, that's all you thought about. And I'm sure everyone in here, when they were younger, had some type of dream, whatever it was, that you did all day long, and you're like, man, and that's what like got you excited. That's why we start with the dream. And then when it starts getting a little uncomfortable, the dream is what kind of keeps you going. And I'll be honest with you guys, man, I had a rough day yesterday, man. I was tired. And, you know, one of my limiting beliefs has always been like, man, I just don't know if I'm cut out to do what I want to do. Like, I'm kind of, you know, I go back and forth from being a rocket ship to a car. And yesterday I was like, I ain't gonna lie, man, I was like a serious car. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, you could literally, you know, you got 2 boys, they're 14 and 15. You could just chill and, you know, keep doing what you're doing. You're gonna get the results. But then I went back to my dream, and my dream this year is to help 1,000 people like change their lives. So that's my dream. And you guys are helping me because, you know what happened? It's not like about you, and you tie into your dream like a sense of gratefulness or things like that. So I had actually did a podcast earlier this week, and like I said, man, I was like kind of like, man, I'm tired. A young kid, he was helping me get like, website, because I'm like starting from zero, like no Instagram followers, no YouTube. You want to talk about like limiting beliefs, man. Where your little son's like, Dad, you ain't got no followers. It's like in your mind, it could literally be overwhelming. And then, this week, like picked up a couple of followers, and it's crazy. And this is why I say like progress is happiness. I think I got 67 followers on Instagram right now. Hey, when I went from 57 to, what was it? Yeah, like from 57 to 67, like had 10 extra followers. Man, you would have thought I hit the lottery. I'm like, all right, people are like, people are starting to like kind of, figure it out. But that's what I'm saying. If the dream isn't big enough, it's like, man, I could easily just be like, I'm gonna stop.
I got a question. Well,
Yeah.
A couple things. One,
Please.
you kind of just went into it before you had said that. I was thinking about something you said 2 weeks ago, when you said if your dream is attached to money, you'll never be happy.
Yeah.
And I got a partner that's like that. He doesn't do real estate; he's in other stuff, but he's just internally never happy. He's making a lot of money, but his happiness is attached to money.
Okay.
So, and I don't know if you saw Wall Street 2. Did you ever see the movie Wall Street 2 with Shia LaBeouf?
Nah.
So one
sounds
of
good.
yeah, it's real good. And so the guy asked Shia LaBeouf, said, "What's your number?" He's like, "What do you mean?" He said, "What's your number?" Like, what's the number he wants to make? And Shia LaBeouf gave some random number, and then he asked the guy that was in charge of like the hedge fund company, said, "What's your number?" He said, "More." So he's always wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about the low grade and the car and the rocket ship, I feel like both can go both ways. So, like for example, I don't follow football too much, but
Okay.
his dream was to get to the NFL. He got to the NFL, and he's just like, now what? So let's say your dream for 2021 is to make $2 million. Let's say you get to the $2 million, and then you're just like, now what? Does that put you back in car status?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And that's the beauty of this formula, right? Because at any time, and before we get into that, let me say a little something about money, because people always joke and they're like, oh yeah, when you have it, it's easy to say money doesn't mean everything. But let me tell you this: people say money changes you, but really that is so far from the truth. What it is, money magnifies who you are. That's what money does. So, for instance, your guy, if he was unhappy and he got money, it's just gonna magnify his unhappiness. If you were a God-fearing Christian and spiritually grounded and you came into a lot of money, it's gonna magnify like all the benefits that you do for other people. So don't ever believe or let that be a limiting belief that I shouldn't have money as a goal. And I'm not saying you shouldn't have it as, a dream. We should all dream to prosper. The question becomes is that money is, and this is what I had to learn later on in life, because I was one of those people where I just was all about, I want to make that dollar, and I was chasing it. And like your friend, never could find happiness. Where the switch like flipped for me is when I thought about all the blessings that I could do. Similar to this program for me is that I'm a businessman, so of course I'm looking at financial interest. However, there's also a sense that all of the people that you can help along the way, that when you get there. So in answer to your question, and that's the beauty is that this is dynamic, because you're going to have your dream and then you're going to reach it, right? And as long as your dream matches up with your success, you're going to be happy. So your dream might be to make $2 million a year. And very well, you could stay at $2 million a year for the rest of your life. It doesn't mean that you have to continually get more and more, but there'll probably come a point where you're making that $2 million and you're not happy. And that's the beauty about having this formula, because these lines are the happiness lines. So you know if you're not happy, what? You need a different dream.
Yeah.
And that's the cycle of life. And like I said, even if you never reach what the dream is, as long as you're progressing, as long as I get 10 followers this week, I'm happy. As long as I lose a pound this week, I'm happy. And it really just comes down to what's in your heart. I'll finish this in terms of like reprogramming our minds, is that successful people spend a lot of time thinking, okay? And that's why the formula goes this way. Successful people spend a lot of time thinking. So I challenge you, the next time you guys are in the car, like, I don't listen to the radio. I rarely watch TV. If I watch TV, it's just like where I'm just like totally like burned out and I just want to zone. Successful people, what they do with their free time is they find activities to grow. So you'll see like a lot of CEOs, what they're trying to do is in their free time, they're constantly trying to grow. So they might try to learn another language like Spanish, or they might try to learn to play guitar, but it's always going to be something that is challenging and growing. Our minds are our most precious assets. I'll finish with this. Words and pictures, we have to protect it. So if we're spending a lot of time just on social media, surfing, the web, just think about, is this really helping me get to where, I want to be? Okay? That's pretty much where we're going to end it in terms of information. My challenge to you is go out, find a mentor, really think about who you need to surround yourself with that is doing exactly what you're doing in that medium, and really try to develop a kind of like a dream team, and you'll definitely elevate your game. I'm going to leave this. I want everyone, because this is where the fun begins, right? Because up to this point, we've just been talking about what we're going to do. 2 weeks from now, what I'd like to do is everyone has a copy of this. I want you guys to put it on paper now. Like, this is where it gets real, okay? I want we've had like a couple of weeks to really understand how the mind works, understand your passions, your dreams. Let's put it on paper. The other worksheet I gave you will help you as you go through here. So in your mindset, and you can see it on there, and then information, and then habits, and then in the success part, I really want you to put on the paper and be honest with yourself. Like, where are you? Where are we today? Where do we want to be? And then we have to have those hard talks with ourselves about what changes we're going to make to get there. And we're all going to hold each other accountable. So ideally, next 2 weeks or over the next couple of weeks, each day we come, I would like for somebody to come up here, maybe 1 or 2 people, right? Come up here, talk about your dreams, talk about your mindsets, your information. The more you talk about it, and the more you put it out in the universe, it's going to come true. So I have 2 volunteers who want to start us off next week, because we'll all learn, and then we'll do 2 at a time, and then that way, we get, okay. All right, so we'll go with these 3. We'll go Johnny, Pat, Darren. And we'll go, so you're basically going to come, have it all filled out. It's kind of going to be like a snapshot, and it could be whatever you want. It could be a personal goal. It could be a business goal. And we'll call it the hot seat. And we'll just kind of, shoot some things off of each other and see if we can't get everybody to that next level.
Yeah.
All right, any questions, comments?
When you first started and we went over the dream and desire, we did the card,
Yeah.
and about the sugar and all that, what me and
Yes.
you talked about. And I think me putting it down, you telling me the part of the present tense.
Yes.
So when I started telling myself the past 6 weeks that I'm already 190, I've been so happy, it's amazing.
Nice.
Because I already feel that I'm 190.
Yeah.
Even though I'm still 290,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
losing those. It's
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
on
yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
But in my mind, I'm already 190.
Yes.
So it's been the happiest I've been. Like, I mean, it's crazy how that changed my mindset.
Yeah.
Then I had to remember that I used to always dream of making a certain amount of money.
Okay.
So I didn't realize that I've been making the dream money, I've been making it for 2 years.
Okay.
But I didn't realize I've been making it till when I started this. That used to be my dream, to make $30,000 a month.
Okay.
10,000 to save,
Yeah.
10,000 on bills,
Yeah.
10,000 to F up.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's an amazing life.
Yeah. Yeah.
To
yeah.
somebody, that's an amazing
Oh,
lifestyle.
yeah, without a
If
doubt.
you got that every month, that's
Yeah.
an amazing lifestyle.
Amazing. Yes.
And I realized I've been making that for 2 years. Like, hold up, I've been making that. And
Yeah.
I've been doing it.
Right.
But now I want so much more. Like
Right.
what you said, when you change that dream,
Yeah.
and that used to be my dream, is cutting hair in the young age, in my
Yeah.
30s and 40s.
Right. Right.
And I'm about to hit 50 this year. And like you said, if you don't put money in it, take money out of the dream, because whatever you do, and you do it at highest, the money gonna come. Don't worry about that. The money gonna come. Everything you need, God gonna give you. Don't worry about the
Yeah.
money.
Yep.
But if you dream high enough that you want to do for other people, like you said, his friend might make $1 million a year, he was talking about,
Yep.
but he's not happy
Yeah.
because he hasn't changed his dream.
Yeah.
His dream was money. Now he made it. He's not happy now.
Yeah.
But money don't do nothing but make you more who you are. If you're unhappy, it's gonna make you unhappier. But if you are a giver and you do get it, it's gonna make you more of a giver, like you said.
Exactly.
It does. It's a change. That mindset. Everything you've done, keep following you, listening to you. It changes people. Yeah. I just want you to know you are changing somehow.
Yeah, that joint stuck with me 2 weeks ago when you said it. I mean, that wasn't really. I mean, of course, I want more money. Of course, like who wouldn't? But when you said if your dream is attached to your money, if your happiness is attached to money, the money is your goal, you'll never be happy, because that's why I brought up the reference from that Wall Street 2 movie, because if the money's the goal, once you reach that money, you're gonna always want more. So almost from the pursuit of happiness, you think of the soliloquy Will Smith had at the beginning of Pursuit of Happiness, when you say you achieve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Like, happiness can never really be attained because you're pursuing it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if happiness is attached to money and you're always pursuing more money, you're always pursuing happiness.
Yeah.
But if your happiness is giving back and changing 1,000 people's lives, or whatever the case may be, and all of that still gives you the money and the income, and you still doing the other things to get the income, I feel like that would be more self-sustaining. At least for me, it is. You know what I'm saying?
And that's what it all comes down to, right? It's all about you and just being honest with who you are, because your dream doesn't have to be somebody else's. It's like, at the end of the day, you just got to look at yourself in the mirror and feel like, did I make the best out of what I got? How about you? I haven't heard from you. I know you're kind of representing in here. We got all this testosterone. What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree. I think that the gold cards definitely helped me as far as the words and the pictures, just to see something on paper. More so for me, it's like a repetition part of just instilling every day, this is, what you need to do, and help to change the mindset altogether.
Definitely.
But every week, learning something and it's sticking. So,
There you go. Repetition. Repetition is the key to all learning. Cool. Any closing comments from this side? Words of wisdom? I know you always got some words of wisdom, Pat.
Yeah, let's just stay the course.
Yeah.
This is great. This is
Good.
great.
Bo?
Good
My
run.
quiet assassin over there, his eyes, he's always
Good
thinking.
run. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I'm good though.
Okay.
I have to say, man. I'm just,
Alright.
I'm just blessed to be here.
Any parting words or words of wisdom?
But not immediately. I'm just reflecting on everything.
Okay. That's fair.
I think we all agree that this is invaluable information.
Good. So starting next week, we'll have Johnny, Darren, and am I saying it right? Is it Darren or Darian? Darian. I'm sorry, Darian and Pat. So we'll try to. I know it's going to be hard, as you can see. Sometimes when I'm talking, we kind of, get on tangents. But we'll try to keep it to like each person will probably have like 10 to 20 minutes, so you can really delve in. And really, it's your show. Whatever you guys want to talk about,
Okay.
I'll be sitting back here,
Okay.
and you guys will, we'll rock it from there. All right.
Great.
Sounds good, guys.